Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the King and I Life podcast, hosted by your man, Soul Touch the Poet, and my brother in here.
Son, so Lex.
Hey, look, we not gonna spend too much time with the intro and all that, cause y'all know where to find us. Y'all know where to find us. Y'all know how to get with us and all that good stuff. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. You know that. But we have too deep of a conversation to keep y'all waiting. So let's jump back into it. Son
Yes, sir.
Solex.
So again, just for those of you who are just tuning in, can there be change in America, the United States, without revolution? But we are moving on to the section of uh, what or whose purpose is it
Oh no.
designed to
No, no, no,
serve?
no, no, no. You're jumping too fast.
Did I?
We gotta we gotta talk about who determines the boundaries.
Okay, all right, I'll bag up.
Yes, we gotta talk about that. You wanna hit it first, or you want me to hit
All
it
right,
first?
yeah, I'm gonna jump into it. Who decides the boundaries? At that point, let's just say, for the sake of argument, the old uh, system has been removed. New system has been established. At what point, who and how do you decide what new boundaries are to be put in place? That is a one hell of a question.
That is one hell of a question indeed.
Because the
Um,
thing about it is, how in the hell do you even decide who goes on what committee or what uh, panel to discuss boundaries and how to set up those boundaries?
Let me tell you something. Because when we were going through this in the first segment,
Hmm.
and we leaked this into the second segment. When you talk about boundaries, that covers so much. You Because right now in several Republican states, they are redrawing the voting map, redistricting
Hmm.
to a level that benefits them, and they're only able to do this because they are in the majority in these specific states, which is why I say it's important to vote. Because and again, I'm not pressuring anybody to vote. What I'm saying is it's important to vote, because when these people who do not share your ideals, they do not share what you see, or at one point they did, and then they got a wild hair up their ass and wanted to flip the switch and go the other way. They're redrawing certain boundaries to benefit them so they can stay in power. You have to look at that boundary right there. So let's just say that this governmental structure that we have right now was going away. And as Sun Soleil said, the boundaries got to be redrawn. Do you know how important that is going to be, as it affects everybody in the country? Because they can redraw these maps to where it's like so imbalanced that it's crazy. And you know that's just one boundary right there. um then you have to look at how certain things, and let's just say in your state alone, what are the boundaries of the state as it is compared to the county and the city, and then the federal government. States, the way this place is set up, is the federal government really does not have that power that people assume it has. It has certain powers, but individual states, these 50 states, have more power than the federal government. It takes these states in order for the federal government to work. And the problem that I have with that is, you know, let's just say, like in Russia, they don't have the type of government that we have. You know, when that joker say, "Hey, this is what it is," that's what it is. Here, when the president say, "This is what I want it to be," you got jokers from 50 states with 50 different, probably 50 different uh, opinions. You may have 10, 15 states that agree with them, but then within that, you got these jokers who are representing these states who are making these decisions. Say, all right, yeah, we'll let you get that, or nah, we ain't gonna let you get that, or yeah, we'll let you get this, but you're gonna have to do this, that, and the other for us. So when it comes to boundaries, it's important because the federal government, yes, it has power, but each individual state, the state's representatives, can really determine how things are going to go.
So, listening to you talk about the states, right? This crazy idea just popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say again that, the old system has been removed and the new system is coming into power.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when, let's say, Georgia decides that it wants Tennessee? If it wants to take Tennessee on and merge as one.
Okay, so when you look at it in those terms, and we're speaking hypothetically
Yes, of
that
course.
our government as it is has failed, and let's just say each state was on their own,
Yeah.
um, as it was back in the day, before
Mm-hmm.
the Declaration of Independence and all that. Before
Yeah.
that, each state was pretty much its own, and if Georgia wanted Tennessee, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to send our army, Air Force, or whatever fighting forces that we have in the state of Georgia. We're going to go up to Tennessee and say, we want Tennessee. And what's going to happen is either they're going to be, well, they're going to have a conversation. Let's just back up a little. They're going to have a
All
conversation.
right.
Hey,
All right.
we think it'd be best for us to merge in order to increase our power and spread our mutual, agendas broadly. Either they're going to agree and Georgia and Tennessee are going to form this retarded shaped state,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to disagree and there's going to be some type of battle or whatever. Now, if you look at how Tennessee is situated and you look at how Georgia is situated, look at the states that are around them, that border
Right.
them. Who's going to side with who in order to keep something crazy from happening or something ridiculous from happening? And what I mean by that, so you have Georgia, you have South Carolina, you have Florida, and you have what, Mississippi? Or is it Alabama on the other side of Georgia?
Alabama.
Okay, you got Alabama. So you got those states to see what they want to do. Now
Right.
Tennessee has some of those same states, and then you got the states that are above 10. I'm not looking at a goddamn map right now, so don't fool with me on the geography right now.
Right.
But on the far end of Tennessee, on the western side of Tennessee, you got Arkansas. You have then again you got Mississippi, you got Alabama, you have Pennsylvania, you have all of those states. If our government fails, it's going to be a hot mess because what you're going to have is individual states making claims to whatever. You're going to have states aligning with other states. You're going to have states against different states. You might
Mm-hmm.
have you might have Georgia right there, and let's just say Georgia and Alabama have the same mindset and they merge together.
Right.
Okay, Let's just say Florida don't agree with that. Let's say South Carolina don't agree with that. Let's say Mississippi don't agree with that. And let's say Tennessee don't agree with that. So you have Georgia and Alabama surrounded by a whole bunch of states that say, we ain't fucking with that bullshit that y'all talking. Those states that are surrounding Georgia and Alabama are going to say, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to come in and take you over because what you're talking about is nonsense. That's what's going to happen. If this government that we have right now just goes away.
Yes. And then I just threw that out there because I thought that that would be interesting. How would that play out? Like if every state became its own government or its own nation,
That would be horrible.
it would be. It would be
Horrible.
a hell of a mess.
Horrible. Horrible.
Because you look at the state of California, how big California is. You look at the state of Texas. Texas bigger than a motherfucker.
Yeah.
You look at Alaska. If these become their own nation, that's a lot of goddamn ground to cover right there.
You know, the problem with that I see, if this government fell apart,
Hmm.
Alaska is in a messed up place. And I say that because either they're going to have to get real friendly with Canada or risk risk being taken over by Russia or China, because
Yes.
the distance from Alaska to Russia and China is not that far. It's
No.
really not that far.
Mm-mm.
And if our government fails, that means these states may or may not want federal government agencies and entities out of their states. Or they're going to say, oh, if you're going to be here, you're going to have to pay. And oh, what you trying to uh, that's not going to happen. So what the government's going to do? Well, the government's going to be no more. So I mean,
Right.
in that case, so it's going to be a hot mess. And that's why, yeah, that's why boundaries are important. Let me not get too far off of that. That's why
I know
that's
it.
why
All right. All right.
boundaries are
Yeah.
important.
We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back.
Yes. So with that being said, let's look at structure, because that definitely goes into structure. So when you look at structure, um, and you look at the structure of the federal government, it's set up the way it is.
Right.
And you look at the structure of states, and they're set up the way they are. Um, the model for the federal government is pretty much the standard for the country.
Mm-hmm.
Every state operates on that model, but the difference is every state operates pretty much in some ways different from each other. And to me, that is what messes up the structure of our government as a whole, because a lot of people do not take that into consideration when they're looking at our system. They look like, oh, well, the government this, and they're looking straight at DC. But hey, you have to look at what's going on in your state, because whatever is going on in your state, your county, your city, your town, community, it affects what goes on in DC. Period.
Yeah. I mean, again, when you're talking about coming from the local level all the way up to, the highest form of government that there is, everything has to have a particular order that they go in.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like uh, running a business. The more successful businesses are the ones that have structure. The ones who
Mm-hmm.
don't make it are the ones with, you know, of course, they are in bankruptcy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into that, but the point that I'm making here is you got to have some type of structure in place in order to make things work.
Right.
And again, that starts with your local uh, district, your local town, city, whatever the case may be. when you get to, this is Supreme Court of that state or whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
to call it, everything has to have, again, a particular order or a way of going in order to make it work. That's just what it is. But again, when you're talking about starting something new, that's too big of a slice of pie to damn try to eat right there, man.
It's way too big, and you're gonna get fat or get diabetes or something.
Heck yeah.
You are. I mean, let's just look at it like this. You know, for a long time, I never voted. I didn't give a damn. I was like, whatever. I ain't fooling with it until I started paying attention.
Hmm.
Now, when I look at things with my 2021 eyes, my 2021 lens, my 2021 mind, I look at some things that go on in this country and I say, you know what? This is a hot ass shame because when you look at Florida and what that governor is doing, it's like I don't agree with a lot of the dumb shit that he's doing. Um, but he's in charge of that state. Like how why does it make any good sense to defund the school system because they saying kids have to wear a mask? That is mind blowing to me. It's like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you really serious right now? Like, come on now, get a grip. Like, seriously, get a grip. Um, and then when you look at Texas, where this jackass has put this damn anti-abortion law in place, and it's like, really? Are you serious right now? So you're taking us back to a time or a mind frame where women cannot make decisions for their own bodies. Listen to me, the governor and the legislature or whatever of Texas has made it so women cannot do whatever they need to do or want to do with their own bodies when it comes to abortion. Um, and that is the type of stuff that happens in Afghanistan, where women literally have no rights. I can sit in Maryland and say that's a bunch of BS. You could sit in Florida and say the same thing. Somebody could sit in Maine and say the same thing. Somebody could sit in Nebraska and say the same thing. And they'll say, well, why ain't the president doing something about it? Because he can't. He cannot. That state has the right to do whatever they vote into place. There are ways that that law can be struck down, erased, or whatever. But the president can't say, oh, no, you're not doing that. That got to go. And again, that's the way that this system is structured. The president is not a ruler. This is not a communist society. It's not all those other governmental, it's not a parliamentary government. We don't have a ruler like that to where he says, you're not going to do that. And if you do, I'm going to throw you in jail or I'm going to have you execute. It's not like that here. It's not like that here.
Yeah. So again, moving on. What or whose purpose is it to design to serve?
It was said when this thing was put together for the people, by the people, of the people. It was supposed to be designed to serve the people. Problem is, over time, because some people felt they could wield the bag of money around and um, some pressure and scandal and this, that, and the other, that it became, in my opinion, a little self serving to certain individuals. And because that has happened so many times in so many different ways for so long, we've gotten to a place where it's for the people, but not for the people. It's by the people, but not by the right people. It's of the people, but of some fucked up people in some places. Um, you have people like Mitch McConnell. You got people like um, Ted Cruz. You got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You got people like Donald Trump. You have a lot of people out there. You have people at Fox News. You have people around the corner. You have people who say and do things that are counterproductive to the greater theme of what is going on, and it puts people at it is this system has become one that has forced people to be against each other.
I would agree with that. I mean, the thing about it is, I think that we live in we live on one plot of land, right? But in all actuality, this is two different nations. And the reason I say that is
I would say
because
50 different nations.
there's I could agree with that too. There's a certain class of people I would say that tend to get away with a whole lot more than the average citizens do. So that's the reason why I feel like there's two different nations within one nation. I'll leave it at that without going too deep. But um, when we break it down and say the people is, is,
Mhm.
is designed for the people, I don't think it was designed for every person. Um, I think it was designed for specific people, but they never did quite give us a defined definition of who those people were.
Mm.
So when you have a group of individuals who, you know, have power within their own right at that particular time of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, um, again, they broke it down in a way where they left things loose, meaning let's not define things exactly down to the core. Let's kind of leave it up to the individual states to do that. But again, within those unseen lines and unseen boundaries, the things that they wanted implemented got implemented. And I hope I'm not speaking too vague for
Mhm.
some people, but again, when we have a certain group of people with power and prestige and all that, and then you have the other group of people who are just trying to live, all that power and money and all that doesn't mean anything to them. They just want to live.
Right.
Then of course it sets our nation up to be at a disadvantage for certain individuals or certain group of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of the distrust and um, agreements come in, because again, certain people within this nation get away with damn near murder. In some cases, they do get away with murder, and some people can't even drop a piece of paper without damn near being incarcerated.
Yeah.
So again, who's actually being served in this nation right now? To,
Those with influence. I'll just put it that way because there's no need to break down a list. It's just those with
no,
influence.
no.
Yeah, that's it. So this is going to be one of your one of your parts right here where I feel you're going to go in to
Okay.
some degree.
All right.
So, is the United States still a system? Is the United States still united? Let's start right there.
Ooh. Yes, I still believe it's a system. And the reason I believe it's still a system is because everything that has been going on recently, it's like the system is getting worse. Things are, and in our daily lives are getting worse. They're not getting better. So the system and the structure that is already in place, that has been in place for decades now, is doing exactly whatever it is that it was designed to do. And no matter how much we sit up here and try to talk ourselves or make ourselves believe, it's just life, um, and things, they just happen. I think that a lot of the things that are happening have been happening by design, meaning it was mapped out, it was, written out.
Mm.
I won't go into specifics, but that's just what I feel. So when it comes down to are we still united? I think we're united on the idea of us all wanting to be a nation. But behind that, no, we're not united. Because when you have so much discord, um, meaning the separation of those in power and those without power, when you have one side of the nation that's constantly winning, that's always winning, and you have the side that's basically getting what's left over, if you get that, then that's where, you know, we're just not united on. Meaning, again, the people with power are winning. They're doing exactly whatever it is they want to do. And those of us who are trusting and believing the system that's in place is set up to be balanced is not.
Mm. Good shit there. Um, is United States still a system? Yes, it is still a system. As flawed as any other system, yes, it's still a system. Um, I don't. Gosh, I don't want to say it's getting worse, but I don't want to say it isn't getting worse. I'm going to say we're stagnated in our growth, meaning we could be doing a whole lot better, and we could be doing a whole lot worse. Um, I think that we really okay. Here's what I really feel like, and I've heard this said many times in many different platforms. We Our government is infatuated with old white men in positions of power, and I think that needs to change. Um, the in order, I think, in order for our system to properly grow generation after generation, people in power have to be younger. They have to be more relevant to what is going on in society today, because some of these jokers have been in Congress or whatever since you and I were little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is retarded. That is ridiculous for someone to be in Congress for 30 or more years. I'm like, yo, serve your 2 terms like a president and get out. Get out. Because the thing about it is, you know, you you're too you might be able to latch on to new ideas, but at one point you're just a stubborn old white man, and that's it. It's like when you are in your neighborhood and you have that grumpy old man that's staying down the street or whatever. It doesn't matter what color he is, just a grumpy old man. And he's a grumpy old man because he doesn't like how things are changing. He thinks kids are too loud. And it's like, what do you mean kids are too loud? What the hell do you want them to do? Like they need to go outside and play. But that grumpy old man don't like that. And that grumpy old man will do anything within his power to make sure those kids are not being kids. So, that's how I feel about our system. Um, is United States still united? I think we have a fractured unity. And what I mean by that is we are largely in our own corners. I don't mean by racial design, even though that's
Hmm.
part of it. But what I mean is, you have counties, communities, states, or whatever, politicians that band together because they have a like mind, and it's not serving to the masses, until something happens that affects everybody in the country. For instance, my best example of this could be when they knocked down the Twin Towers. You saw this country band together like nothing else. And that moment in our darkest day made me very proud to be American. But after that wore off, the more time that passed and people started getting back to their normal lives, you seen the same shit come back into place. And it's like, yo, come on, man. It takes for someone, and it's like a family. We could fight amongst each other, but nobody outside can come in and fight us. And if
Right.
somebody come in and fight us, oh, we gonna band together and we gonna bust that ass.
Hmm.
Then after we bust that ass, we're gonna go back to being a normal family fighting amongst each other.
Right.
So that's what I feel about the United States. Is the United States still united?
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, growing up as a kid, we were always taught, pledge your allegiance, putting your hand across your heart, and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And growing up, we had this belief that we were a part of the greatest nation ever. We watched, our parents go and serve in the army to the best of their abilities, and there came a certain type of pride with that, of knowing, that your parent was doing something not only for the sake of your family, but for the sake of the nation. So we grew up being a part of that whole camaraderie of wanting our nation to be the greatest one on the planet Earth as we know it.
Yeah.
But the older we got, the more we came into the true reality of um, how life isn't always fair.
Right.
How, the system, no matter how broken it um, is set up to work for everyone, but it doesn't. So, um, I don't know. It's just one of those things. We want so much to believe that our country has our best interests at heart. But when we actually sit back and think about it, is that true? And I think that's a question that every, American has to ask themselves.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
But with
indeed.
that being said, we're going to tackle this again when we come back. But we want to
Yes.
thank everybody for tuning in and listening to our personal views on this subject. And it's just a subject, just a conversation.
That's it.
It
That's
doesn't
all it
mean
is.
anything.
Hey, you take what you take from it. You can agree, you can disagree, but whether you agree or not, we would love to get your input on this because
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
just two peas in the pod, and
That's
and
it.
and we're just two citizens of this this country.
Just two
Hey,
citizens.
that's it. But yeah, we'll be back to tackle this topic. King and I Life podcast.
Yes, sir.